Hey Vikings Nation, what's up? It's your boy here, bleeding purple and gold, coming at you with some heavy news today about one of the true legends behind our Minnesota Vikings franchise. Paul Wiggin, a man who dedicated over 40 years to this team we love, passed away at the age of 91. This one hits hard, fam. Let's take a moment to honor a guy who lived and breathed football, especially for us in Minnesota. The Vikings organization is in mourning right now, and so are we as fans. Paul wasn't just a coach or scout. He was a cornerstone. He joined us back in 1985 as defensive line coach and stayed with the team for 4 decades in various roles, helping build our personnel department from the ground up. Owners Zygi and Mark Wilf said it best. They met Paul when they bought the team in 2005, and it was clear how much he loved the Minnesota Vikings. He shared stories about our history that captivated everyone, always caring about players, coaches, staff, and dreaming of that Super Bowl for us fans. But above all, he was proudest of his family. Wife Carolyn, 3 daughters and grandkids. Skol Vikings family, today we're saying goodbye to a Minnesota Vikings icon, Paul Wiggin, gone at 91. This news dropped just yesterday, and it's rocking the entire NFL world, but especially us here in Viking country. Paul spent 40 years with our team, pouring his heart into it. Think about that dedication. Starting as defensive line coach under Bud Grant's final season, sticking through Jerry Burns' era, then moving to personnel where he scouted linemen and mentored staff for decades. He never stopped loving the game. Rob Brzezinski, our EVP of Football Ops, called him a legend as a person, player, coach, and executive. Wiggs was humble, generous, a mentor to so many, and he truly loved the Vikings. His wisdom and friendship will be missed deeply. Vikings faithful, let's talk about Paul's impact on some of our all-time greats. As defensive line coach from 1985 to 1991, he guided the intensity of Hall of Famer John Randall to Canton. Randall called Paul the original guru, who imparted knowledge quietly, never raising his voice. Paul's humble leadership pushed players to be better on and off the field. He taught that you grow when you get uncomfortable, lessons that shaped Randall into who he became. That's the kind of coach every team dreams of. Scott Studwell, our Ring of Honor linebacker, overlapped with Paul for nearly 3 decades in personnel. He called Paul a great coach, mentor to Vikings greats, and a class act who epitomized what we stand for. Rest in peace, friend. Thanks for everything. Purple Pride, raise your horns if you're feeling emotional right now. Paul Wiggin wasn't flashy, but his presence was powerful and calming. He had stories with NFL legends but never name-dropped, he just shared wisdom. Todd Fultz from the National Football Foundation compared him to Bud Grant. Both statesmen under the radar, team-first guys who impacted Minnesota football hugely. In 2023, Paul won the Bud Grant Distinguished Minnesotan Award, and it meant the world because of his respect for Bud. Paul roomed with Pete Carroll that one season under Grant and became huge fans together. He turned down chances earlier but felt blessed to work with Bud. Even just that year was amazing to him. Let's go back to where it all started for Paul Wiggin, the modest man from Modesto, California. A 2-time All-America at Stanford, he played in the 1956 Shrine Game and got drafted by Cleveland in the 6th round. Over 11 seasons with the Browns, he never missed a game, starting 127 of 146, teaming with Jim Brown and Jim Marshall under Paul Brown. They won the 1964 NFL Championship, and Paul earned Pro Bowls in 65 and 67. Inducted as a Cleveland Browns legend, spot on their all-time team, his playing career alone was Hall of Fame worthy. But Paul kept going because he loved football too much to stop. After hanging up the cleats, Paul jumped right into coaching. Defensive line with the 49ers, then head coach for the Chiefs, defensive coordinator for the Saints, and back to Stanford as head coach, where he guided John Elway. That Stanford tenure had heartbreak too, like the play against Cal in 1982, the band on the field chaos. But Paul built everywhere he went. Then in 1985, Bud Grant hired him for our Vikings defensive line. He stayed on staff, transitioned to personnel in 92, and helped shape our franchise for 40 years straight. Vikings fans, Paul could have retired to warmer spots like so many do, but he stayed a Minnesotan through and through. His wife loved the seasons, winter included, and it grew on him too. He told incoming coaches how the cold seems tough at first, but you'd come to appreciate it. Paul embraced Minnesota, just like he embraced the Vikings family. That's the kind of loyalty we cherish here. Staying committed no matter what. What a career arc. Player on a championship team, head coach at college and pro levels, then building our Vikings from behind the scenes. Paul assessed linemen, offered counsel, mentored legends like Chris Dolman II alongside Randall. He was one of the few who built our personnel department from scratch. Over 30 years in scouting roles, his eye for talent and quiet wisdom shaped rosters we cheered for. And through it all, he remained humble, a gentleman who brought out the best in everyone without ever seeking the spotlight. Family. Paul's proudest achievement wasn't the Pro Bowls or championships. It was his family. The Wilfs highlighted that. Wife Carolyn, daughters, grandkids. He cared deeply, just like he cared about winning that Super Bowl for us. Thoughts and prayers to the Wiggin family right now. Paul touched so many lives in the NFL, but especially here with the Minnesota Vikings. His legacy will live on in every story told at TCO Performance Center. Every player he mentored, every decision influenced by his wisdom. Vikings Nation, let's reflect on what Paul meant to us. He represented dedication, humility, and passion, the core of what makes our franchise special. From playing with icons to coaching Hall of Famers to scouting for decades, he spanned eras, always giving back to the game he loved. And he loved the Vikings most of all, captivating the Wilfs with franchise history tales, always pushing for that ring for the fans. As fans, how lucky were we to have a man like Paul Wiggin in our corner for 40 years? Drop in the comments. What's your favorite Vikings memory from the eras he influenced? Did you ever hear stories about his time with Randall or under Bud Grant? Share below, I read every one. We're all feeling this loss together, but celebrating his incredible life too. Paul Wiggin, thank you for everything. Skol to you forever. Alright Vikings gang, that's our tribute to the legend Paul Wiggin. If this hit you like it hit me, smash that like button to honor his memory. Drop a comment with your thoughts, memories, or just Skol Paul. Let's flood it for him and the family. Subscribe if you haven't. Turn on notifications for more Minnesota Vikings news, updates, and tributes like this. Share with your fellow fans, we're stronger together. Skol Vikings!